Hey, Malcolm, what's happening? I mean, we're waiting for podcasts since more than 10 days. What are you doing, man? I'll tell you what I'm doing. Vibe coding and finding out what's happening wrong in my company. Because remember, when we work with CEOs, what do we tell them? We say, you have no idea what's happening in your company. I mean, I have no problem telling that to the CEO of somebody who's running a $50 million business, but also a $30 billion business. And I don't mean it as an insult. I mean it literally. You and your colleagues and your managers, they sit in hours every single day of meetings, every single day. And you send hundreds of emails. And obviously in these calls, you make promises. Yeah, I will send you this, I'll do that. We'll have a meeting in 3 weeks. And 3 weeks later, you can't remember half of it. And for me, the thing that I don't understand is that companies are still living in this old digital landscape. What's an old digital landscape, right? You have a CRM, but your CRM is not helping. You have Salesforce. Your sales employees are not using Salesforce. And then you add on top and on top and on top, Notion, Asana, Jira, whatever the hell. And companies, when I do AI workshops with them, one of my first questions is, can you get me a list of action items of what you're supposed to do, or that came from, for example, the last 3 weeks of meetings? No company in Europe is able to do that. Sorry. And I don't care if you use Copilot, it's not possible. You're not able to get me a list by quickly talking into an AI, ordered by customer, what you're supposed to do. And if you say, no, I have a CRM, no, half of the stuff you don't track on your CRM. Half of the stuff you don't track on Salesforce. Now, what's happening? What's happening? And what are we doing in our company to try to help us? And the reason you didn't get any podcasts from me the last 10 days or 1.5 weeks is that we are building a chief of staff with perfect memory. What's that? Well, it's somebody who's reading each and every single email. Malcolm, I have Copilot. No. I'm talking about every single email in the company. We have a chief of staff that everybody in the company can access to and query everybody's emails. A chief of staff that everybody can access and query all the meetings in the company. Why would I have to query somebody else's emails? Because you do not have an idea of the connections, of how things are actually fitting together. Because your CRM, sorry to say, is just a graveyard of good intentions. But now take all the company's emails, take all the meetings in the company and all the files, the strategy, whatever, and then now say, try to help me to find the patterns. Why aren't we closing this customer? Maybe it's because of procurement, maybe it's because of sales, maybe it's because we didn't set up the last meeting. Hey, I got a heart attack when we started using this thing. You know what it told me? It said, oh, yo, Malcolm, did you know that ThyssenKrupp is one of the biggest defense contractors in Europe. They contacted you last year in June for a workshop. You never answered. NG Spain wrote to you in black and white, we'd like to have a training for 100 people. You never answered. And now instead of waiting 6 months and realizing this, imagine you or everybody else in the company has access to such a tool. Wouldn't it be absolutely wonderful? And I'm not a coder. Until a week ago, I did not know what the GitHub repo is. I promise you. But I built such a thing. Obviously not alone. I had some help from some very clever people. But if I can build it and it costs 70 euro, then everybody listening to this podcast can build their AI chief of staff in a compliant way on their Azure infrastructure for $70 or 70 euro. So yeah, let's look into the hard truths of how this AI chief of staff destroyed my company. So yeah, action, let's go.
Flip the switch, the circuit's live. Digital dreams, they thrive and strive. Recipes coded to feed your mind, serving knowledge of the AI kind. Welcome to the AI Cookbook Show, where the data streams and the insights flow. Tune in slow, let the rhythm grow. For every soul in the know and those who don't.
Okay, so for those who started joining us and following us on YouTube, for example, on Spotify, I see that we got a lot of viewers on Spotify. Thank you so much. By the way, subscribe. I've been told to tell you from my marketing department that you should hit that subscribe button. Okay, let's continue. So we run a company called Wechota AI. We're kind of like an AI consulting firm, which means in Austria, we're accredited to give AI consulting. And we have very big companies, like pharma companies, energy companies, banks. Hey, we train people at Europol, okay? You train people at Europol. Yeah, we kind of help them to figure out their AI strategy and how to use AI properly. But the problem is we're a very small company. The core is 6-7 people. The extended is up to 15 to 20 people. And for now, or until now, thank God now, Marsha is helping and Damian's helping and other people are helping. I was the only closer. So when it comes to sales calls, strategy sessions, convincing boards that AI is not scary and that they should stop hiding behind the data security dinosaur, Malcolm is on the call every time, all day long. And actually, I had one, we did the retro with this AI chief of staff. We said, look here, go through day by day, every day, analyze all the emails, analyze all the calls, overlay our strategy, overlay our ICP, tell us what we did wrong. And we're doing this every single day, back from 2025, okay? Now, I used to be in another startup, okay, called Coating AI, but it's not Coating AI. Every single company in the world is like this. When there's the retro, every 2 weeks, the developers are preparing for it for half an afternoon. But imagine you don't need to prepare for it. Imagine you have an AI chief of staff that does that for you. And then we started looking on daily. And then we started looking on weekly. And then we started looking on monthly, but not the retro only. We started taking all the calls of the day and then all the meetings, etc. And then we say, based on what happened this week, predict what will happen next week, based on also the way that you know us. How good are we? How bad are we? And the predictions are brutal. Sometimes it will say, I believe you will not be able to send an offer within 24 hours to this customer. I believe this one will fall through. I believe you guys will totally talk another time about another project and then it's going to fall through. Now, we all have this. You have a great call with a prospect. Fantastic. Okay, great. Let's call them NG Spain because this is true. NG Spain, if you're listening, I apologize that I never answered. So NG Spain, it's an energy company. It's a big opportunity. They wrote to us and they said, Malcolm, can you train 100 people in our company? And maybe you meet them one time and then you talk about use cases, pilots, budgets, you show them what you're doing, etc. And you say, oh, we're really, really good. And 3 weeks later, you've forgotten about them because you're drowning in the next call, the next emails, etc. And then when we did this retro with the chief of staff, we realized NG Spain, we never followed up. No. I never followed up. Did they reply? I don't know. Did I ghost them? I don't know. Ask the chief of staff, he will tell you, no, Malcolm, you did not follow up. And it's not only that. ThyssenKrupp, my God, ThyssenKrupp, they wrote to us, I never answered. And now we start digging through our inbox and also through the CRM. Because when you build these systems, for example, you can build it with an MCP server to Claude. So essentially you have a database on top and then you train a RAG and then it's all online and then you put an MCP server and but everybody in your company can query this with Claude. And you can connect your CRM, which means if your CRM, for example, is Attio, like in our case, or HubSpot or whatever, you can connect it. Because, okay, Attio is a bit different because Attio is AI native, but HubSpot is not AI native. It's very difficult to ask very complex questions to HubSpot. With which customer didn't I follow up? With which customer did I discuss this use case? And which customer is 100 kilometers around from us? HubSpot cannot answer this. Your chief of staff can answer this. And it's chaos. It's chaos. It's chaos in my company. It's chaos in your company. Because you're supposed to remember everything. You're supposed to, hey, look at this. You're supposed to write down stuff like on here. Here's a notebook for those who are listening online. Here's a notebook. People are writing stuff on a notebook. People are writing shit on Post-its. How the hell are you supposed to see the patterns? It's very difficult to see the patterns. If you can't even remember what you discussed in a meeting that you had a day ago, how the hell are you supposed to remember what you did 3 weeks ago? And we tried really everything before we set this up. We tried the CRMs. We tried, Notion AI, for example, is pretty good, right? We tried hiring another person to help us track stuff. My God, an AI company. Think about that. But the information is just scattered all over the place. It's the inbox, it's the calendar, it's the Teams, it's the Teams, it's the call recordings, it's your brain. How about being able to mine all of this? So the reason you haven't heard from me the last 10 days is because we were hacking. Essentially, it's just started with a stupid, simple experiment. You know what I did? I took one single day, only one day. And from this one day, I downloaded all the call recordings, TLDV, Copilot, etc. I only used the calls and I overlaid it with my strategy. And I said, how good or bad am I doing in these sales calls? And I fed it to Claude. And Claude destroyed me. Claude totally destroyed me. He said, Malcolm, you have the academy. You didn't mention the academy. Malcolm, you have a big customer, Zurich Insurance. They are hot. They were interested in talking to you. You could have just added, let me come over next month and do a keynote. That's dropping a bomb. That's dropping a hook. Let me also tell you about, for example, these corporate development programs that we have. You didn't do that. Let me tell you that we're actually hacking use cases for you because we have a developer now. You didn't do that. It showed me all the things that I did not do. This is wild. Now, it's not only for me. Everybody in the company can go and query this thing. And now coming back to NG Spain, what did it say? Contact 21 days ago. Yeah, you did send up a follow-up email on the 15th of December, but actually there was no re-engagement at all. So the deal went cold because of me. And I'm not able to follow up on it. But when you have an AI chief of staff, no joke, it doesn't matter if you use Attio, if you have TLDV, if you have Copilot, if you have your emails, you can go inside and you can query. You can say, look, I'm Malcolm. Ask the chief of staff, what are the top 5 things that I'm leaving on the table? Or find out which opportunities we have to reactivate. And it does that. It takes a minute or two before answering because it's an MCP server, but it does that. And I'm thinking a human assistant would take days to dig through all my emails and then open the CRM and whatever. This takes, 1 minute. 1 minute. And then when we set this up, I really realized what we've been doing wrong in this company. We keep trying to build systems, where humans input data. But we humans are terrible at inputting data. We like to sit on our ass and at the end of the day say, oh yeah, I remember I have to do something, and maybe we input something into Salesforce or into Viva Engage when we're in pharma or whatever. We're lazy and we lie to ourselves about what has happened. Yeah, I think I had 1 action item, but when you take an AI, out of every call, it finds 10 action items. So for me, the way I try to explain to my team, the reason I want to mine everybody's emails and everybody's call and everything that we have in the company and give it to everybody is not only must we capture everything automatically, but democratize the access to every single employee. So then I asked, what did I promise that I haven't delivered? Now, this one was a real slap in the face, like, Malcolm, you're an idiot. Now, we promised case studies to a customer A. Okay, let's call it customer A because it's a current customer. So customer A on November the 3rd, not sent. Promised an introduction to partner X to the same customer a week later, didn't do anything. And I promised a revised pricing for a different customer a few days later, not sent. Hey, it is the 21st of January and all these action items are open. They're all true. I did promise that in separate calls and I forgot. But somehow the AI, it's not the RAG, it's basically the database above, it does not forget because you kind of say, read the transcript, build the action items, assign it to a person, assign it to a customer. So therefore, it's not like asking AI and you wait a long time. It's like the AI has a map, like Google Maps, and it knows where to navigate to. If your database has, I don't know, whatever, 1 million lines, then it's only going to look for customer A. Okay, customer A, let me filter. Action items, let me filter. Boom, there are 3 left. And you overcome context length issues when you do this. And you overcome the graveyard of broken promises. Because our graveyard of broken promises is super duper long. So then I told you a bit, remember, I don't care about what happened yesterday. I mean, it's kind of good because then you have the action items, you know what's happening, etc. I care about what's going to happen next week. What's going to happen next month? So essentially I queried that thing and I said, okay, why are we not a $10 million revenue company? Why are we not a $100 million revenue company? So what do we have to do from today, based on what you saw, for example, yesterday, last week, last month? Can you predict what should happen? And not a million action items, just 3 or 4 things. It's so fantastic. It's fantastic because it helps you overcome these problems that are always recurring. Whatever. This was flagged already in the stand-up in October. This was flagged in the stand-up in November. This was discussed in the year-end discussion in December, and we still didn't do anything about it. Now, because it understands that, it says, Malcolm, you have no chance of closing this customer because every single month you're discussing one of the big problems that you have. So your problem is not solved. Your problem is not solved. And there is no resolution documented anywhere, man. Not on your SharePoint, not in your meetings, which means I assume you guys haven't actually solved this thing. 3 months later, the same problem. So AI can infer. It doesn't matter. You are trying to get this customer, you will not, because you're not set up in a way in this company to do it. And the name for this is basically a strategy execution drift. What is strategy execution drift? Strategy execution drift means we sit on the 1st of January and we agree on the strategy. Okay, we're going to train companies in the DACH region and in the UK. Not just our strategy. Okay, very good. Oh, our ICP is companies anywhere between $50 million of revenue to $2 billion of revenue. Very good. It must be companies who are already using a bit of AI. Very good. And then you get a call from Nigeria. Oh, this sounds interesting. Wow, this is so cool. Wow, let me go and talk. Oh, it's your sister. Oh, yes, this is very interesting. Wait, stop. Is that your ICP? In that moment, your strategy has drifted. And it's a small drift because it's just one project in Nigeria and this is so interesting and I lived in Africa for 20 years. Wow. But every day, your strategy is drifting more and more and more. And business units find it very hard to understand, are we aligned to the strategy or not? When I was working at Novartis or in Schlumberger, it's always the same. Once a month, sometimes once a quarter, you present to top management and you say, this was our strategy. These are the action items that we did. When you set up such a thing, every single day, all the action items, all the calls, everything that is done can be aligned to your strategy, to your game plan. We call it a game plan because Tulio loves basketball, he loves sports. So our strategy is called the game plan. And it's lovely when you start opening this thing that every day it tells you, oh, Malcolm, For this point of the strategy, you get an A plus, but for this one, you get a D. Oh, why D? Because you said the geography would only be that and that, and maybe a bit of Middle East. What's up with this Nigeria thing? Or you said you would do ABC, but now you're following up on customers which are not part of your ICP, so you even get an E. It's so granular for the entire company. Okay, now where are we? Let's be honest. This is not a podcast too much to explain how to build an AI chief of staff. That we will do in the academy. Now, the thing is, it's a bit to also be very honest with you guys about how bad we are running our business. Because I think that if I am honest with you, you will hear a few things and you say, well, yeah, actually, I have the same problem. I have the same problem in my company. So Q4 strategy, we talked about it. I kind of said, focus on enterprise customers, focus on a certain geography. And then it says, Malcolm, actually, you know what? In Q4, 60% of all the meeting times was spent on very small deals. Why are you doing that, Malcolm? Q4 strategy, the academy that we have, we launched it. The reality is in October, think about it. In October, we discussed this 2 times. This was a big pillar of our strategy. We said, we're going to launch the academy. And in October, there are only 2 meetings, internal meetings, where we discuss the academy. It's wild. This is not a drift. It's like a rift. It's like the Rift Valley within the company. And I'm sure you have a lot of rift valleys in your company also. And then I asked it the same. I said, okay, good. Now, remember that. So the way I had the idea was fantastic. So I don't know if you watch this movie. I think it's called The Thinking Mind, Thinking Game. Let me Google this here, actually. I don't know. Thinking Mind, Deep Mind. Let me check. Thinking Game. So The Thinking Game is a wonderful movie about, it's basically about Demis. It's basically about the founder of DeepMind and how they grew DeepMind, how it was acquired by Google, how they won in Go. They beat the world Go champion. And then they solved the protein folding problem a few years ago. And this year or last year, they got the Nobel Prize for it. Yes, an AI company got the Nobel Prize, okay, for medicine. So, or maybe for chemistry, I don't know. So now, wait, you're watching this documentary, and what does this have to do with this entire story? So I was watching this. This was around Christmas time, And while I was watching it, I think it was 2 a.m, I was sending messages to Purni, which is ridiculous because poor Purni is sitting in India, and by her it was maybe, 4 a.m. But thank God she always puts her phone on mute. And then I was saying, Purni, it's not only about what you have done. It's like in DeepMind. It's the prediction of what will happen. And AI on paper in a company can predict relatively well. Why? Because it knows your strengths and it knows your weaknesses. It knows which offers you sent out, which ones were rejected, what is your ICP. It sees in the meetings where your customer says, wow, this is awesome. And it sees in meetings where customers just don't come back. So it's relatively easy to build, this time not the database, but a RAG that is fine-tuned on, well, not a RAG that's fine-tuned, that's a model that's fine-tuned. A RAG that is embedded with all your data, your strength and your weaknesses. And again, it costs absolute peanuts. Now, come back to NG Spain or tech partnerships. Let's take a tech partnership. So we're discussing a tech partnership with another company, and it says, to be honest, Malcolm, probably this will die next month. And I'm thinking, why? So I asked the AI, why do you think? Because the last 4 or 5 tech partnerships that you discussed in the last 6 months, they all stalled after 1 month. So then I said, okay, well, what can I do you think, so that this doesn't happen? It said, well, you're just going into meetings, meeting tech partners and say, wow, cool, would be good if we could collaborate, and that's it. Obviously it dies. Go in and say, look, we'll collaborate with you. This is the minimum revenue that we expect from you. This is the minimum revenue that we bring to the table. These are the resources that you have. These are the resources that we bring to the table. Let's hit 3 months, 3 pilots, for example, in the next 3 months. If they all fall flat, we stop working with each other. And what do? we keep hovering with these tech partners all the time. It's our own, I'm sorry, own fucking fault. We're stupid. We're absolutely stupid. And when now I have the chief AI officer in this company, I'm so happy because I know at least in 2026, we will not fall flat on our nose for these things again. Malcolm, a nice dream. Well, no, it's not a nice dream. It's a reality. It's a 70 euro reality. It's a 70 euro reality. You know, we have a German developer who's like all on my butt all the time for safety and compliance and using customer data right. It's a 70 euro reality that you can set up in your company. Now, you talk to a company, you show them this. They're like, wow, this is so awesome. And I say, yeah, you will have to mine all the emails from all your employees and all the phone calls. Oh, no, I can't do that. Oh, no, I have a union. Oh, data privacy. I'm like, bro, wait, stop. You're connecting anyway the outbox or the inbox of your sales manager to HubSpot. You're giving all the email access to HubSpot. That's okay, but you don't want to give it to an AI? Yeah, haven't thought about that. Oh, data privacy. Wait, stop. All your data is on the Azure cloud. What's the problem here? The problem of this is not a 70 euro problem. This is a rethinking the way that we manage companies in 2026 in an AI and AI agent reality. Now, why AI agent? Because the thing that does every day my daily report is an AI agent. On that platform that we've built, there's something called Chief AI Officer Daily Report, and it's an agent, and I can invoke it on Claude Code, or I can invoke it on Claude on my phone. And I can say, while I'm outside at the pub, and I can write. And by the way, the nice thing if you set it up with Claude is you have access to this Chief AI Officer on your phone. Everybody in the company has access to it on their phone, on their laptop, with Claude Code. It's absolutely wild. Now, why or when do we send out these reports? Well, roughly about 2 or 3 in the morning. Why? Because I want people to wake up in the morning and see these reports. And it's a report, it's a lot of information. Therefore, we made a tab. We made one tab called One Thing from AI. And one thing from AI means, look, forget that the report has a lot of tabs. Just go there, and if you are able to focus on this one thing today or help us deliver this, we will be the kings. We will be the kings if you're able to focus on one single thing. And why do I need that? Because I have ADHD. I have a very small brain because apparently there's an MIT study that shows the more you use ChatGPT, the smaller your brain becomes. Hey, my brain is probably minuscule. So I will not be able to survive in a business context and grow this company if I don't have not AI, but AI connected with a chief AI officer, connected with AI agents that help and support us. That is the difference. I think the difference is that people are kind of playing with AI. Oh, here's a cool demo, here's a prototype. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but now roll it out to the entire company. Let's see. It's still hallucinations. No, and therefore, when I send out the email in the morning at 2 in the morning to everybody, actually the email, wait, let me read you the email. Let's open it quickly. So let's go into send emails. This was at 3 in the morning. It says, hey, dear all, this is the retro with all the action items and predictions. This is an experiment. Don't take anything personal that is written here. Are there hallucinations? Yes. But this is the part where we switch on our brain and filter these out. Take care for now and have a kick-ass day. That is how you manage transparency in a company. And then I asked it, okay, man, what's the biggest bottleneck in my company? And it said, you. You, Malcolm, are the biggest bottleneck in your company. Because you're a guy who's doing podcasts, and then you're doing YouTube, and then you're visiting customers, and then you're teaching medical professionals. But man, where's the sales engine? Where's the delivery engine? Where's the going to customer engine? You are the biggest bottleneck in your company. Because, for example, we had 1 month where Malcolm was in 100 plus calls in 1 month. And it explains it to you. It says, look, you're the primary constraint on growth. And obviously, because when you have such a system, you can say, okay, good, make a diagram and show me the number of calls that I'm in every single month, right? Now, funnily enough, August and July was like 10, but pretty much every single month is like mayhem, right? And that made me stop, because it made me realize when things are written like this and it comes from an AI, it doesn't hurt you. It does not hurt you to get feedback from an AI that says, Malcolm, you are the biggest bottleneck for growth in your own company. Now, it doesn't matter if I create 20 AI agents. I cannot clone myself. But it's wonderful to see it crystal clear, black and white, with 5 reasons, without having to pay an external consultant a lot of money to do an analysis over 3 months. And this system for me is not built to show us how amazing we are. This system is built to show us 99% of all our failures. The chief AI officer should show us all the stuff that we're not doing well. And we had a meeting. We had a meeting with Tullio and me and 2-3 other people, and people were defending themselves. Oh, no, but this is the reason. That even I was defending myself. And Tullio, who's our head of strategy, who's our CFO, who's our right hand, the consigliere of the company, took a step back and he says, guys, stop. Embrace failure. Just be glad that we have a vehicle that tells us about our mistakes. Embrace failure. And to be honest, that killed it. That point killed it. So this tool will show you everything that's broken with your company. Every promise you didn't keep, every problem that you ignored, every customer that you ignored. And every time that you, my friend, not your 5 colleagues in the team, you were the bottleneck. So I have so much more to say on this topic. So I think we're going to make a second part of the episode, because if not, this is going to go on for like another hour. So I'm just going to kill this by just talking about, what does this mean, not only for my company? What does it mean for you? Okay, we know we cannot throw 100 meetings into an AI. Doesn't work. So, you need to go and build a database. You need to go and map all these things. And then after this, you need to take a RAG. You need to build a RAG that you then, both of these, connect to a large language model. And the large language model, we talked about Claude and Claude Code. It can be anything. This can be run on the Microsoft infrastructure on Azure, where all your data is anyway today. But if you have this, you will start seeing patterns. And you're not just reacting to whatever the loudest person is who's screaming in the room. I really need that. But you start looking at what an AI with probably 2 steps back, who's not your friend, who's not Damian's friend, who's not Tullio's friend, is able to show you. And for me, remember that word that I told you, the most important word is strategy drift. Because the moment a strategy is defined in the company, in any company in the world, it starts drifting. And knowing you guys, how agile you are, it's like drifting very, very quickly. Like Need for Speed, Drift King and stuff. It's drifting super fast in all the different directions. And it's very difficult to run with a strategy. And most leaders they don't vibe code, they operate on vibes. Leaders operate on vibes. I think that's a good idea. Let's move there. And you operate on fragments of information, very few data points, and you think, oh, this is good, this is bad. Let us try this, okay? And to be honest, in the companies in which I worked before, who is the person who gets all the different, the different resources, the different people, who gets all the money thrown at their business unit? Normally the person who shouts the loudest. Not always the person who maybe with an AI is able to justify, look, this was my strategy. That's how I executed it. The business grew, and therefore I should get the resources. No, you start giving it to them, to the person who screams the loudest. And now, okay, Malcolm, there are limitations to your system. Yeah, I agree. I agree that there are limitations. Because some companies that we were explaining this to, they were saying, yeah, but Malcolm, you are distributed, everything is recorded, you have all the emails, but we work a lot also in person. I'm sorry, start Copilot every time you're in person. Just put it on the table and start Copilot, start recording your meetings. Start recording your meetings. And if you say, yeah, but then that's uncomfortable, okay, just start mining all the recorded emails, all the emails and all the meetings. You will have 90% of the information. And then if you connect it with an API to your CRM and then you connect it to Salesforce, my God, you have a weapon to kill your competitors. So then we did a session in the academy that was, in the community. You need to watch out. So we have this thing called the community and it's free. Everybody can go there. And we did a session in the community. And we kind of dropped the sentence that went something like, if I was an investor today and I'm doing due diligence for an investment, I would not trust any due diligence documents that any company gives me. The only thing I would say, look, just send me all your emails and send me all your recorded phone calls and all your data. Don't worry, just send it to me. I'll take care of it. Do you understand this? Do you understand that every single investor in the world now is able to get a totally different perspective on how the company is operating? I would prepare 10 AI agents, and actually we're doing this for an investor buddy of us. 10 AI agents, one that does the due diligence on this, one that does the due diligence on that, pricing gaps, strategy gaps, delivery gaps, hiring gaps, etc. And these AI agents, when they go through hundreds of meetings, my God, you really start to understand a company before you throw hundreds and thousands of dollars to them. And for me, actually, I had a buddy who was like, wow, are you going to sell this? I'm like, I'm not selling anything. This is just a methodology. I can set it up for 70 euro. Basically, the possibility of somebody copying this is like super high. So anybody can copy it. I'm giving you the entire methodology. And I'm not the only one who's building second brains of companies. Many other people are also doing this. But I don't see lots of people building it and then going out in the world and telling people how shit they're running their business. Because I believe that you're also running your business super duper shit. Really, really bad because you have no idea what's happening in your company, like I said at the beginning. So then the next one maybe that's going to make you fall off your chair. I built it. Malcolm built it, who's got no idea about anything, who about a week or two ago did not know what a GitHub repo was. Do you understand this? Now, obviously, we have Damian, our developer, and I have my buddy Mark from Desync, and he's a genius, and I have my friends at 10 Valleys, and they give me feedback, etc. But I didn't want a fixed fertig solution, fixed fertig. Fixed fertig in German means it's like finished, you buy it off the shelf. I just said, okay, let me play around with it. Now, maybe it took me a week, maybe it took me 10 days, okay? And maybe it will take you, if you know what you're doing, maybe an afternoon, I don't know. And now you could say it's vibe coding. Now, obviously, if you do vibe coding, please have a serious developer who's going to go on it and say, oh, Malcolm, this and this mistake. Let's change the tech stack to this so that it's safer. Let's do the whatever, embedding on Azure so that our data doesn't go outside, etc. But around you, you have enough people who can teach you how to build this, or you can build it yourself. So the gap of the super users, the super devs in companies that are able to build software, and I don't know, some nitwit like me who's able to sit down and vibe code for a week is closing rapidly. These super users, these semi-gods of AI and software in your company, you can also be them. At least from a prototype stage, you can also be them. So the question is not really, does this technology exist? It does. The question that I have for you until episode 2 is, do you want to see the truth about your company? Malcolm out.